My God, WCW just keeps getting worse and worse and worse by this point. I'm John Ritlin with a retro review of WCW Nitro for May 22nd, 2000. We're deep into the Millionaires Club versus New Blood storyline. Vince Russo is all over the goddamn place. Eric Bischoff is trying to make things work. Oh boy, and none of the matches were any goddamn good. I am amazed that WCW survived past this point. I'm amazed that WCW survived to this point. It was a shell of a it was a shell of a wrestling company. It was a shell of a goddamn brand. It was a shell of a TV show. This show sucked. It absolutely 100% sucked. The WCW title was getting tossed around like a joint at a college party, and my God, it was so fucking bad. Let's just get into it. Playing off of all the stuff that happened from Thunder when Ric Flair collapsed, we get Vince Russo, Jeff Jarrett, and David playing a funeral for Ric Flair's career. They have a casket and everything. Don't worry, I'm going to get to some bullshit that happened a little bit later. We start off with Ernest Miller versus Booker in a weapons match. We get two black guys whipping each other with sticks. That's what we're getting on TNT in 2000. I am amazed that Ernest Miller was ever allowed to be in a ring because no matter how athletic the guy was, he was a lousy-ass wrestler. And poor Booker, yes, he would become WCW champion soon after this, but my God, this is not how you use young talent. This is also not, a good idea to feature Ernest Miller, who was fucking terrible. So, yeah, we get Sean Stasiak attacking Booker, and then a chair-assisted kick, and Ernest Miller gets the victory, and then MIA, Misfits in Action, make the save, I guess? They make the save, sort of, even though Miller beat Booker. And then Bischoff's here, and he says, well, let's start with a clean slate. Says, everybody, come and join the new blood, and guess what? We will forgive you. Oh, wait, you can kiss our ass. And then he fires Booker in the next segment. This show was 250% talking and 5% wrestling, with the remaining 500% left for filler. I know that's not how math works, but in Vince Russo's world, that's how you swerve people, is with bad math and bad booking and bad everything. Why were people so badly used by this point? This was car crash television of the highest goddamn order. So we then get a shot of a nose in Ric Flair's robe because Ric Flair had a big nose, and that's how we're gonna, honor Ric Flair's career, is making fun of a guy that meant more to wrestling than Vince Russo could ever hope to on his best day. So Terry Taylor and Reid Flair arrive. This leads to stuff that's even worse, and I'm going to be reviewing Thunder soon after this, and I'm already preparing just to deal with the absolute worst. We get Daphne coming to the ring saying she should be Cruiserweight Champion because during a mixed tag match recently, she pinned Tammy the Tramp and, won the championship. And then, she's going to face Crowbar. This was embarrassing. And not because Daphne isn't a good athlete, not because Crowbar isn't a good athlete, not that Daphne isn't legit tough. She is. But this is when the Cruiserweight Championship meant absolutely nothing, and they were having it passed around in a mixed tag match. And then they had man-on-woman violence where they didn't even let them have a competitive match. Crowbar didn't want to hurt Daphne because he had a friendship with her. And then Daphne was saying to her Karana. And then here's Candido and Tammy the Tramp. And we get a tombstone onto a chair, sort of. But Candido accidentally kind of kicked the chair out of the way. Maybe a good thing because I really don't want to see anybody paralyzed. But then Daphne pins Crowbar after checking up on him to make sure he was okay. And then is suddenly celebrating because, she's mental. She's crazy. And then she is now the new Cruiserweight Champion. So that's where we're going with this. I think she was Cruiserweight Champion for a few days, a week, 2 weeks. I don't actually fucking remember. And I believe I did a ranking video on all the WCW, WWE Cruiserweight Champions, and I can't fucking remember how long Daphne had it, but I don't think it was for too long. We then get footage of Tori massaging Horace. No, not quite like that, but it did kind of look like it was going to lead to that because sexualizing women. Okay, Kidman's upset. So Bischoff says, hey, Tori, be a ref and watch them have a match. So we get Horace and Kidman fighting from the back to the arena. Well, back into the ring, that is. And Bischoff joins commentary. And then we get a chokeslam throw of sorts. We get Horace bringing the table. And here's Hogan. He throws Kidman on the horse and then makes Tori pin pin Hogan. Tori count the pin, rather. And pin, as Horace gets pinned. Horace gets pinned is my whole point. The reason I'm so frazzled by this is because by this point, it's nothing but shenanigans. Shenanigans the musical. Thankfully, we didn't have any musical stuff here. But Tori is forced and, objectified and made to, pin or, count the pin here. Because Tori couldn't have any goddamn personality. She's a woman, therefore she must act scared all the goddamn time. So then we get car wash stuff with Norman Smiley and Ralphus, and the Filthy Animals are there, and we get a few vignettes going on here. We then get Terry Funk's announcement. The New Blood are on the stage. Well, Shane Douglas and a couple people. Terry Funk is not going to retire. He announces that he's a granddad, and that his contract was extended through June 1st of next year, 2001. That's adorable, because WCW wouldn't even see June of 2001. Terry Funk got an extension. To be fair, Terry Funk meant a lot to wrestling, so him getting a contract extension made sense. But then he gets pile driven onto, like in the ring and be with a chair and this kind of stuff. His daughter's at ringside, and his daughter tries to get in the ring. She gets shoved down. They then lay him out, and then we get more car wash bullshit. And then we get Mike Awesome mocking Canyon in a wheelchair, wearing the halo and everything, because Canyon had been thrown off the stage, or off the cage, onto the ramp by Mike Awesome at Slamboree 2000, which I know I said was a really, really bad pay-per-view, but unfortunately, remembering now the remaining pay-per-views that we're going to have, it's sadly what probably was the best WCW pay-per-view of 2000, and that's saying something because it wasn't very good, in my opinion. But yeah, he's mocking him, and then here's the Wall, and Mike Awesome and the Wall have a tables match, and literally within a minute, Awesome puts him through a table outside. The Wall's up, and we get a beatdown, and then Shane Douglas helps Mike Awesome, laying him out with a pipe, laying his lengthy pipe across the Wall's back. DDP then helps the Wall backstage, because they were about to toss the Wall in an ambulance, because Mike Awesome is the ambulance chaser. And I think I need a chaser after watching this goddamn show, and I don't even drink. And he throws Mike Awesome in the ambulance, and then the Wall is choking out Douglas. And then we get the casket, the Ric Flair casket being brought to the ring. And Mike Awesome, I believe, was helping take that. So it was a pre-taped thing. So really right there, they're fucking up the whole live aspect of this show. Even though I think Nitro was even being taped at some points because they were trying to cut costs and the ratings were in the goddamn toilet, so taping wasn't going to matter. Ric Flair's funeral. Talking about he had a brain aneurysm. And then Russo sucks chance, and he gives the world title to Jeff Jarrett, because Jeff Jarrett got, Ric Flair's world title after losing it last week. And, oh no, what's going to happen? The casket opens. It's Nash. Nash is in the casket, tears his quad, chokes out Russo. Should have just stepped on him a lot goddamn harder. And he attacks David Flair and Jeff Jarrett and leaves with the world title and steps on Vince Russo. Let me tell you right now, Vince Russo is one of the biggest embarrassments to ever happen to professional wrestling. Because even if some of his ideas were reshaped and made into something passable in WWE, none of his ideas in WCW worked. None of his ideas in Impact ever worked either. And that was with a decidedly lesser budget and, a younger talent pool. WCW by that point had been a damaged brand where a complete reset might have not even worked, but it would have been nice to see. Vince Russo is just a goddamn embarrassment. He always fucking was. He always fucking will be. And he deserves every bit of endless mocking that he gets. And I still don't believe that those are his kids, because nobody that ballless and nobody with, that little bit of manhood could actually father any children. So I think his wife probably made the right decision to, get artificially inseminated with the right kind of, DNA to raise some kids. So Russo, just know, if those are your kids, they should be embarrassed to have you as a father. So anyway, Scott Steiner comes out making little sense, but he's in Michigan, so all his freaks are happy and all the crowd is happy. And then he says he wants to take on Rick Steiner and Tank Abbott in an asylum match. It's that weird domey cage thing that lowers over part of the ring, in the ring. And then the only way to win is to have your opponent say, "I quit." Well, here's Tank mocking Goldberg after a little bit of action in the ring between the brothers. He has bolt cutters. But then he knocks out the referee, who I believe is Mickey J, gets the thing to lift the cage up, and then it's a mess. Here's Nash to help Scott Steiner. Kevin Nash is all over this goddamn brand at this point. And then Nash says backstage he will face Jarrett, and the winner is the champ. Because Russo had said earlier, you have 45 minutes to give me the title, like Vince Russo would ever be able to get anybody to give him anything, because he's a stupid little coward that would run away from everything because he's a goddamn idiot and has never been in a fight in his life and would probably run from any sign of conflict, because that's just the kind of ballless bitch he is. So we get Chuck Palumbo and DDP based off of backstage shit, I guess, that happened. I don't know. Liz is at ringside with Russo security, Russo and Bischoff security, and Kimberly hits her with a bat. And then Mike Awesome's in the ring, runs back after being thrown in the ambulance and taken away, runs back almost next segment, hits DDP with the halo that he's got in his hands now, and Lex Luger is here. And then gets distracted by Kimberly, and then guess what? Gets, hit in the face with the Flexi Lexi bar. and he's bleeding from the face or covering up his face and everything. He's put in an ambulance. Kimberly cannot talk for shit, and I don't know besides how she looks, why she was ever on TV, or at least why she was on TV in 2000. And Kimberly, I know, made a career in acting. She was much better in, movies than she was on live TV. She just wasn't very good, and I don't even think she really wanted to be there. I just think she was under contract, and they decided to use her. I don't know the exact, details, but she just wasn't very good here. Yelling at Lex like it was Lex's fault. Like, Liz meant more to wrestling than Kimberly ever did. Let's be perfectly honest. We then get Reid Flair and Terry Taylor. Well, here's Daphne and David, and Terry Taylor gets laid out. And then Reid attacks David, but then, even gets a side headlock on him, and then David attacks him, puts a figure four on him and everything. This is a goddamn mess between two brothers, and this would lead to Reid, I believe, being in the ring in a WCW match. I purged a lot of WCW 2000 from my mind, but it's all coming back to me now, like that Celine Dion song, and this is bad television. This is really bad television. Let's get through the rest of this. Who wanted this? Who was this for, by the way, is what I want to ask. Vampiro versus Hulk Hogan. Literally a match that was just thrown together. Vampiro has a gas can because we get the Human Torch match at Great American Bash between Vampiro and Sting. It's a match that went all over the place. The mess, everything, it went outside, all this stuff. Commentary, well, the 2/3 of commentary that actually has any kind of competency about them tried to make something work. And then a leg drop, and then Kidman helps Vampiro pin Hogan, and then Vampiro goes for the gas. Sting makes a save, preventing Hogan from being set on fire and being the same color as the brother's brother. And then MIA and the Filthy Animals brawl around the washed car, and then Ralphus gets mouth-to-mouth from Major Guns, because boobs, am I right? Jeff Jarrett versus Kevin Nash, Russo as the referee, and pinfalls count anywhere. We get Mace, we get Scott showing up, he's handcuffed and maced, and then we get Nash attacking Russo. The new blood, the blood pouring down. Nash misses again. I don't think Nash wanted to be part of that, but then he gets some of it on him, and then Russo gets some on him. Guitar shot. Jeff Jarrett gets the victory, and then they hype up Great American Bash 2000 a little bit, saying, I've got surprises, Bischoff's got surprises, and that's what I fucking think of the goddamn surprises. Bischoff did the best he could to make this fucking thing work, and you cannot be a fan of Bischoff. You can think that he wasn't all that good for WCW, but he was. Vince Russo was never good for WCW or really any wrestling company. My God, this was such a mess. And unfortunately, it's only going to get worse, but guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep reviewing this shit because I'm going to torture myself. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.